Hi, I'm going to walk you through Glossa and show you what it actually does and why it might matter for your business. So the short version is Glossa helps you capture, organize, and manage everything that happens in your client projects all automatically. But let me show you what that really means in practice because it's obviously easier to understand when you see it. Let me start out with the problem that we're solving because Glossa exists because of some pretty universal challenges in professional services and in implementations. Here's what happens on most projects. You have client conversations, sales discovery calls, delivery discovery calls, status meetings, design reviews, sprint demos. Someone takes notes, there's transcripts, there's AI meeting summaries, you have emails going back and forth, you have Slack messages, you have decisions getting made, and you have documents in Drive or SharePoint. It's everywhere. This is all the corpus of your project knowledge. It's essentially what the client wants, why they want it, and what decisions have been made. And today, it is scattered across so many different places that it basically only exists comprehensively in like several people's heads, and sometimes not even there. So this creates two big problems for your business. One, it's inefficient, right? People are spending time, they're recreating context, they're asking AEs like what happened in this sales conversation, they're searching through Slack for historical context. It's expensive, and in a competitive market, it's a risk. It is not the only risk. When knowledge only lives in people's heads, you are vulnerable. So someone wins the lottery, or you bring someone new onto a project, then you're hunting for context again. It slows things down, it makes mistakes more likely, and it risks your client relationships. So inefficiency, risk, both of these things are hurting your ability, probably, to compete and to scale. But this is, of course, what Glossa solves. So let me show you how it works. Okay, first thing, you connect Glossa to the tools that you're already using. So Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, Gmail, Outlook, G Drive, OneDrive, whatever your team works with day to day. From that point forward, every client conversation gets captured automatically. Meetings, emails, documents, all flows into Glossa, organized by project. You might be thinking, security? Everything is encrypted. You have full control over what gets captured and who can see it. Data is not used to train models. Happy to get into the details on that if you want, but just know that we take data security very seriously. Let me walk you through an example. You have a discovery call with a client, let's say about a new workflow. Normally after that call, you take your notes, you write out structured requirements, you write them by hand, maybe you write user stories, you're organizing information, you're trying to remember exactly what the client said. But with Glossa, that happens automatically. The call ends, and you have a first draft of requirements already created. You review them, you make adjustments, you add context, but the heavy lifting is done. And the most important part, every requirement links back to the exact moment in the conversation where it was mentioned. So the transcript shows the client's exact words highlighted. It's preset to that timestamp in the recording, and you can just watch it immediately. So this is important for two reasons. First, it is verification, right? You're not relying on someone else's interpretation or notes or AI summary. You can hear what was actually said. And second, it is continuity. Somebody new joins the project, they can get up to speed by going straight to the source. So they don't have to watch hundreds of hours of recordings. They just jump to the specific moments that are worthwhile. And this requirement does not live in isolation. I can see related requirements, or I can click through to them, and next I'm going to show you how we can see if there are any conflicts or dependencies. So as a delivery team, the most expensive problem that you can have is rework, right? It's wasted work, it pushes your timelines and your budgets, it's also totally preventable with Glossa. We think that rework has two main causes. First are contradictory requirements. Have you ever had one stakeholder, let's say, describe their workflow in one way and another stakeholder say something that is not exactly the same? Maybe finance is oh, we do this in a nightly batch, and IT is oh, we do this in real time, but they say it 2 weeks later. And if you don't catch that immediately, maybe you build for one of them, that's rework. So Glossa flags things like this automatically. Your BA sees it during review. Maybe you reach out to the client, you get clarification, you document the decision, so you can solve the problem before any code is written, before you ever have to do any rework. That's one, I would say, obvious cause of rework. But rework also happens, in my experience, because requirements are vague. this is a little bit too simplistic of an example, but like the interface should be user friendly, or like the system should be fast, right? You think that that means one thing, the client thinks that that means another, and even though you agree on the words, when you actually deliver what you think that requirement is, then you understand the client was actually expecting something else, and then it's too late, and you've already done a lot of this work and you have to do rework. So Glossa helps prevent that type of rework by flagging vague requirements for you. Not only does it flag the vague requirements for you, but it helps you make them better. It gives you a quality rubric, it suggests follow-up questions that you can ask the client, and you can even chat with the requirement directly if you want to improve it. All of this pushes that quality upstream, which means fewer surprises downstream. So rework is expensive, it eats into profitability, it pushes out timelines, it frustrates the team, it frustrates the client. If you can catch these issues, contradictions, or vague requirements, it is just so valuable. Okay, so let me show you how you actually manage these requirements once they're in the system, right? We've talked about how they get generated from all of your client conversations, but here they are. What do we do with them? Each requirement has a status. It has a priority. You can have discussions and add comments directly on the requirement itself. You can generate acceptance criteria directly from the requirement. We support different formats, Gherkin, user story, checklist, so you can use whatever your team prefers. And again, this is stuff that you would normally do by hand, and so it's just saving you a little bit of time. Same thing with implementation tasks. So these are the detailed steps that you need to fulfill the requirement. Glossa generates them based on the requirement and based on your project context. So you review them, you make adjustments, but again, that first draft is done. And finally, we group these requirements into feature areas or epics so they're easier to review. We also assess these requirements as a set, and we'll flag to you if we think that there's any missing requirements for that feature area. So we're just helping you make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. All of this really adds up, right? It's a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, but across different projects, across different requirements, it's substantial. But it's not just for delivery, right? Delivery teams are obviously the core users of Glossa, but I think the value actually extends across the whole client lifecycle. A lot of our customers have their sales team using Glossa for discovery calls. That means that when a deal closes and moves to delivery, the project team isn't starting from scratch. They have all the context from those sales conversations, what the client's pain points were, what they're trying to accomplish. The handoff becomes seamless. It's literally zero extra work for AEs, and it actually helps because AEs can use those requirements to build an SOW, so it helps them too. And then same thing on the back end. If you have a managed services or a support team that takes over after implementation, they inherit all that project context, so they don't have to go like reverse engineer why something was built or why a decision was made, because they have everything about the project all at their fingertips. So we're talking mostly about delivery teams today, but just know that Glossa can create continuity across the entire organization. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's talk about what this means for your business. There's two ways to think about Glossa's value: competitive advantage, risk mitigation. 2 thumbs up. On the competitive side, you're more efficient than competitors who are doing this by hand, right? If you're automating a lot of the things that take your BA's time, that means your BAs have more time to take on more projects, take on more work, and that means that you can be more competitive. You're also catching quality issues earlier. That means less rework, and that's also helping your bottom line. On the risk side, you are not dependent on any single person if one person happens to win the lottery. This is really helpful in building a business that is sustainable, scalable, and just not vulnerable to one person leaving or being poached. There are some questions that I often hear. Let me get out in front of them. Does this replace my project management tool? No. So Glossa works alongside project management tools. We actually have an integration to Jira that I didn't demo here. So you can send your requirements and your user stories from Glossa into Jira. Think of it as like the pre-work for Jira, right? This is your requirements tool. Next question, what about AI accuracy? Glossa's AI will generate first drafts. We think that it's really good at pulling out requirements from conversations, but you should always review. Always need a human reviewer. How long does it take to implement Glossa? A couple hours. You connect your tools, we import your projects, and you are off. It's very fast. And then last, why should I not just use ChatGPT instead of using Glossa? A bunch of different reasons. Number one, ChatGPT does not care about data privacy like we do. Number two, ChatGPT does not cite sources like we do. Number three, ChatGPT will not allow you to manage requirements, including having conversations around requirements like we do. And number four, ChatGPT will not catch conflicts like we do, and it won't group into features in a way that's as good as we do. So many other reasons. Wrapping up, you've made it this far. Here's my core message. It's a competitive market out there. You need efficiency and you need resilience, making sure your business isn't dependent on individual people or scattered knowledge. Glossa gives you both. It automates manual work. It captures and organizes all your project knowledge, and it helps you catch problems before they become expensive. If this sounds useful, I want to talk to you. You know how to reach me. Allie at glossapro.ai. Don't be a stranger.